What is up, folks? Welcome back to the channel. Hey, listen, let's not waste time here, man. Let's get right into this thing. We're going to be reacting to this video here. Trump says China has to give US magnets or face 200% tariffs. As we all know by now, okay, the current administration has been on a war path with the entire globe. Here's the thing, man. We already know by now the US has always enjoyed this dominant, this dominant force. They've always been this dominant force across the globe for the longest of time. But it's very clear that what is happening right now is that the world is changing, all right? Geopolitics is changing. China is now a force to be reckoned with. So is Russia as well. So we're going to be reacting to what President Trump has to say in this video. And we're going to take a look at some other things that are going on. And then I'll give you guys my thoughts on how I think really we should be navigating these times. So let's jump into this geopolitical situation here.
They have to give us magnets. If they don't give us magnets, then we have to charge them 200% tariff or something, you know. China intelligently went and they sort of took a monopoly of the world's magnets. They have to give us magnets. If they don't give us magnets, then we have to charge them 200% tariff or something, you know.
So the US has always had this approach to dealing with the entire globe where they demand for what they want, right? It's almost like an entitled sort of thing. Give us what we want or else. And this worked for the longest of time because, you know, the US was always the most dominant force across the world. If you do not play ball, you might receive sanctions. You might get set up and invaded. Simply put, regime change, right? We're all familiar with this at this point in time. However, I think where we are right now, it just seems like it's not the time or place to be demanding things from other nations, especially with how China is positioning itself to allow China itself and other nations to have some leverage to be able to push back against a lot of these demands from the US at this point in time. Case in point, I will show you another video here where you see how China responds or retaliated to some of this demands, right, coming from the US. And it's just honestly, it's simply just because of how they want to interact with the world right now. And it's just, you know, it seems like the world is just not having it anymore because they have a counter. So check this situation out.
3 years ago, Joe Biden said China is not allowed to buy NVIDIA microchips, the most advanced microchips, right, the A100s. So what NVIDIA did is they said, okay, you know what, we're going to go one step down. We're going to make a version called the H20. It's not going to be as good. It'll be a little bit watered down version, but we'll sell the H20 chips to China. China said, great, we'll buy those chips. They're basically, second tier chips.
But they're still very good.
They're still very good. And actually what we can do is we can take multiple of those second tier chips, put them together, and we can get the same output as the top tier one. Okay. So we'll just buy more.
That seems ridiculous. If they can combine the H20 chips to get the same performance as the A100, it seems like you should just sell the A100 to them, right? Because the outcome will be the same. But it seems like a thing where they just want to give other people a hard time. We can have it, you can have it. But then this backfires spectacularly. Check this out.
Essentially. Now, what happened is this ended up being very lucrative for NVIDIA. NVIDIA's, the China market for NVIDIA represents a $15 billion market. So that was $15 billion in revenue, to NVIDIA, selling to China. And unfortunately, Donald Trump said, okay, what we're going to do is we're going to now block this, and we don't want you to buy any. So no H20 chips are going to China. Now again, while this is all going on, Huawei is working extremely hard building the most advanced chips. TSMC, another company based in Shanghai, they're building their chips. And now what happened is that Jensen Huang, the CEO of NVIDIA, he's pleading with Trump, he's pleading with the U.S. government, look, this is a big part of our bottom line. Like, we want to sell chips to
you're
China.
hurting an American company.
You're hurting an American company at the end of the day. So Trump says, you know what, let's reverse it. You guys are now allowed to sell H20 chips to China. China, just this week, 2 days ago, they said, we are now banning Chinese companies from buying the H20 chips.
So right back at you,
right back at you. But the main reason for that is because within these last 3 years of the banning and selling and this and that, China domestically has been able to produce a domestic chip that matches the same capabilities of that H20 chip.
So ironically, the sanctions not only backfire, but ultimately undermine the power of American companies abroad.
3 years.
All right, so there you have it. So because you want to play these stupid games, right? You, one, are hurting an American company. You now push these people that you see as your adversaries, which I don't think really has to be an adversarial sort of thing. In this sort of situations, it could be more collaborative, right? But, now you've put China in a place where they're able to work around this annoying thing that you're doing, always saying that they cannot get specific things. But at the same time, you're doing this to a country that you are heavily dependent on, right? So, for example, like Trump himself said in that first video there, China has to give us magnets, otherwise we'll give them 200% tariffs. You need magnets, okay? China has the magnets. You don't go to someone's house and say, hey, you have to give me food, otherwise, I'll come up to your house every day and just use up your electricity and drive up your bills. It just doesn't work that way. Sounds like you should be politely asking for the things that you need, or bring something to the table that allows for equal trade. But I'll ask you this: what is the biggest thing that the U.S. is able to trade with China? I mean, you had agricultural items, which they have already blown that out of the water, right? China has not bought any soybeans, which is really one of the main things that they purchase from the U.S. They haven't done that this year. And then not only this, okay, it also gets worse because China is actually going around the world, especially around Africa, and it's not just magnets, but they're securing a bunch of other essential critical minerals for trade. And check this out. So this is from the African Center for Strategic Studies. And what you would find is that China actually has well over 78 ports across or around Africa at this point in time. And this is to facilitate trade. What kind of trade are we talking about? Everything that China is producing in exchange for some of the natural resources that Africa has in abundance. Listen, I've been to China recently. I was in China recently, and I've seen the level of productivity that is going on in this place. It is relentless, and it is unmatched to anything else. So check this out. If you look at the black dots here across or around the African continent, these are Chinese ports all around Africa. I don't know if this is fully showing on the screen here. I think that should be good, right? So you have ports in Algeria, Egypt, Eritrea, Sudan, even though Sudan right now is kind of like a hotbed for trouble. We have, I think it's the shared port over in Djibouti. Everyone is in Djibouti, to be honest with you. Kenya, of course, Tanzania, Mozambique, Angola. They actually have two in a row, Angola and Namibia, so that's kind of like close to each other. But essentially all across Africa, China has built ports. But you see that the West only has military bases, which they're now getting kicked out from some of these countries. But what was the West doing the whole time that China was doing these things? Were they not watching? Were they not seeing that China was making these moves, essentially, which will put them at a disadvantage when it comes to trade in the future? And, at this point in time, this neo-colonial grip that the West has on some African country is just absolutely obsolete, because with the leverage that some of these African countries now have by trading with China, they just don't need to deal with the West, and they're just no longer scared of Western sanctions. So again, China accounts for about 1/3 of the minerals exported from these African nations, with about 71% of these exports concentrated in just 5 countries. That would be South Africa, Angola, DRC, Congo, Zambia. And then of course you have other areas where they have other trade setups, and there are ports there to facilitate those trades. Ultimately, if you ask me, it seems the solution is simple: collaboration, collaboration, and more collaboration. But what do I know? I'm just dabbling in geopolitics here. You guys let me know in the comments, what do you think? Do you think that this aggressive approach of demanding things without anything in return, or demanding things or else face punishment, is the way to go? Or a more collaborative approach is a better way for the Western world to be able to trade and continue to grow with the rest of the world? Thank you for watching this video. Let me know what you think. Share with me any videos that you would like from me, you would like to see me share my thoughts on. I'm just reacting to many different things that I find interesting across the interwebs. Until next time, peace.